What is going on, football fans? Welcome to another edition of Inside the Hatches Air It Out podcast. I am Juan Pablo Gordon Camargo, your host for this whole event here today, and I'm joined on a call filled with so-called football experts. I got Darius Riddick to my that's my left. I got the big trust, Mr. Dan Braxton at the lower level, and I got right below me, Mr. Avery. What's up, guys?
What's good?
And guys, we were right before Jerome took us into the break. We were having this whole discussion about who would you start a franchise with, Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, and we give Darren a lot of hate and a lot of flack for always going with being such a Lamar hopeful and a Ravens mega fan, and we respect that, but you gotta take the chops where they come from, man. You know that.
Listen. All I had to ask was this, because the question was, if you had to start a franchise, either of the quarterbacks, and they have the same weapons, I wanted to make sure what weapons you're talking about, because if you gave Lamar Jackson right now what Kyler has, I feel as though Lamar would be doing the same exact thing or better than he was last year. Period.
You really say that?
It is what it is. Yes, I do.
Don't be biased when you say that.
Listen, and I'm explaining why. Marquise Brown is a good receiver, but he is still young. He is still small, and he honestly is not shown to be that true number one guy yet. Well, everyone else on there is just not. They're not number twos. They're not number threes. They're role player guys that will get a couple catches here and there.
Well, we're gonna table that debate for another show, because that might be something that we might want to revisit further down the line. But guys, before we get started, yesterday was two big events yesterday. The first was my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom! I love you very much. And second was the Veterans Day, and NFL, it celebrates veterans very, very well. Not only just in the flyover and the Pledge of Allegiance, but just shows a lot of love and a lot of gratefulness to our troops who go overseas, because freedom isn't free. We are very lucky to be living in a country where there's freedom of speech, freedom to protest, and freedom to congregate. So I guess I wanted to ask you guys if you guys have any shout outs to anyone who's serving overseas or who has served overseas that you want to give a quick spotlight to. Avery, I know you had a couple.
Yeah, a couple shout outs. My cousin Michael, my uncle Michael, God rest his soul. My grandfather was in the military, my uncle Steve. So many. And I'll give it, a shout out just to a very, very close friend of mine, Courtney Talbot, just graduated from the Naval Academy, so shout out to her as well.
Congrats to your friend. Darren, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, might as well. Basically, all my family down south, they all were up and down the military. Definitely got to shout out my grandpa who passed away not too long ago. Rest in peace for him. As well, surprisingly enough, most people don't know, my dad. Got to give a shout out to him. Yeah, listen, everyone that was in there, you in there for a reason, and you definitely deserve it.
All right. Darius, you want to come on up?
I just got a couple. My grandfather actually served in the Army. I have a couple of cousins that served. One of my cousins, he was in the Marines, and then one of my close brothers is actually in the Navy right now. He's in Japan right now. He actually comes home next September. So definitely shout out to him for doing his thing out there. So.
And I'll just slip mine in right now. I have a cousin down in, this is more like Colombian military, because I have family more down in South America and Colombia. A cousin who's studying to become a pilot in the Colombian Air Force. Shout out to him, Juan Guillermo. I love you very much. And my grandfather, who was in the Colombian Navy and had a kind of a funny story. He was docked in New Orleans back when Louis Armstrong was playing in a couple of bars down there. And he actually got to sit down and have a drink with him. Freaking Louis Armstrong, man, like one of the greatest jazz musicians of all time. And my granddad didn't even know who he was until he left the bar.
That's amazing. That is phenomenal.
And I would again a lot of thanks to everyone who serves and puts on a service and puts out and sacrifices not only their time and their lives for this kind of service, but you do it without asking for much in return. So we thank you very much for everything. And with that being said, we move away into the rundown. And first thing on the rundown we have for today is the headliner for this year's Super Bowl was finally announced today. Canadian R&B singer The Weeknd is the big game's headliner. The NFL's entertainment advisor Jay-Z endorsed The Weeknd's choice for the event, saying, "quote He has a sound all of his own, and that his soulful uniqueness has defined a new generation of greatness in music and artistry." There's no word on how the league plans to have the Super Bowl take place due to COVID numbers spiking this late in the year, and that Raymond James Stadium, the venue for this year's game, might have only a limited capacity of just 20% attendance. Moving down up north to Pittsburgh, the Big Ben has had a rough couple of weeks, you guys. Not only did he injure both of his knees and the Steelers win against the Dallas Cowboys, but he was also moved to the COVID reserve list along with 4 other Steelers on Tuesday. And yet, Pittsburgh has been practicing like Big Ben is going to play this Sunday against division rival Cincinnati, with offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner saying, quote, "As of this point right now, he hasn't missed a rep. He doesn't practice on Wednesdays anyway. There's been various times in his career where he has not practiced all week and played in games and played successful games. I don't question that one bit. Should Roethlisberger not play this week, you could expect the return of Mason Rudolph to the starting help with Joshua Dobbs at the backup position." And now a little bit of Raven news to kind of break down here. I started off with a little bit. It's kind of a weird situation. It's like give a penny, take a penny, but in the Ravens case, it's get a corner back, lose a corner. And I say that in the sense that this week, while they do get star DB Marlon Humphrey back from the COVID reserve list, they lose another corner to the COVID reserve list, Iman Marshall, who tested positive for the coronavirus earlier today. Other teams whose players have tested positive for the coronavirus include the Raiders linebacker Corey Littleton, 3 Dolphins players, including linebacker Cal Van Noy, defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, wide receiver Matt Cole, and the Jets tight end Ross Travis. Now we're moving up into Ohio, where the Bengals, they traded away Carlos Dunlap earlier this year to the Seahawks for center BJ Finney and a 7th-round pick. They lost a huge pass rushing component in there, but now they're getting another one in the form of former 1st-round pick from the Atlanta Falcons, Mr. Tack McKinley, who was waived by the Falcons earlier this week due to not only criticizing the team on Twitter, but also because of poor performance that he's done as a member of the Atlanta Falcons. So far, he's only had 17.5 sacks in 4 years down in Atlanta. He takes the place of Carlos Dunlap in Cincinnati. And now, finally, with some fantasy news to end on, Browns running back Nick Chubb said on Wednesday he isn't sure if he'll be 100% ready to play in Cleveland, to play for Cleveland in their game against Houston this coming Sunday. He said in his press conference, quote, "There is still a lot more to it than just me feeling good. I have to get through athletic trainers and coaches and doctors. It's more than me just saying that I'm okay." Chubb has missed 4 weeks due to an MCL sprain he suffered in Week 4 against Dallas, and initially he had a return table of 6 weeks. And guys, that's where I'll end it with the rundown for today. I'm going to throw it over to Darren first with the Ravens story I broke about Iman. The Ravens have had a cluster blunk of things going wrong in the past couple of weeks for them in terms of injury and COVID news from the Steelers game, and then trying to bounce back against the Colts in an ugly fashion. How bad is the lose of Iman to the COVID list?
It's not too bad. It's definitely something that is not needed right now. You are already down one of our better corners and slot corner, Tavon Young, who's out for the season. But I feel as though the guys that we have in there are going to be able to make up for that, especially with still having our top 3 guys with Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters, and Marlon Humphrey as well. We just signed, I believe, to the practice squad or the active roster. But either way, he's definitely going to make an impact soon. Tremont Williams, former Packer DB, The guy knows how to play. He's played 16 games just last season.
Isn't he like in his late 30s though?
Listen, we only need him for a few plays. You do not need him to start every game. You do not need him to come in on super unimportant downs. Big time downs when you know he can make a play. That's all you need him for.
Shout out to Tremont for being a DB who is in his late 30s. Not a lot of DBs ever have that kind of longevity outside of Deion Sanders, of course. Avery, I'm gonna throw it over to you. Just how the Ravens lost a corner and they got another one. The Bengals lost a defensive pass rusher and got another one in Takk McKinley, losing Carlos Dunlap by trading him away to the Seahawks. Do you think there's going to be any change for Takk when he gets to Cincinnati?
Honestly, I don't know. I will say this. Prior to his injury this year, he was, I believe he was top 7 in defensive QB pressures. He was not getting sacks, but he was getting the ball out of QB's hands because of the pressure that he was putting on quarterbacks. So I'm not going to say that he is a bust, but I will say averaging less than 5 sacks a season as a first rounder is just not good enough. And then to be injured on top of that, again, your best ability is your availability. And then to cap it all off, so not only are you not productive, but you're also injured, and then you're a locker room cancer, that's just not good. I mean, to me, I would not have signed him, but I mean, maybe the Bengals saw something, and again, like I said, maybe they're going based on what we saw early in the season prior to him getting hurt with the QB pressures. But you just let go of a guy who is a locker room sour, and you pick up a guy who got cut partially because he was a locker room sour. So to me, it's just I don't fully understand it. But again, Takk is still young. He's only in his 4th year. And like I said, with the fact that he has been getting QB pressures, maybe in another system they start to translate the sacks. But I mean, we'll see.
In the words of Deion Sanders, again, shout out to Deion on this random rundown shout out I've been doing lately. If you ball, you get the call. And even though he's a former first rounder, he still has some athletic ability and he can ball. So he got the call from the Bengals. Darius, I want to throw it over to you for our last thing of the day. I know that, I don't know how your taste in music goes with regards to R&B or rock or rap or anything. So I kind of just want your opinion on this, man. Like, do you think like bringing in The Weeknd to headline the Super Bowl was the right move by the NFL? Like, remember that the NFL put Jay-Z in charge of entertainment and cultural diversity for the NFL. Was this like the right move, or is it just kind of like, hey, there you go?
I think it's one of those, hey, here you go. I'm not really a big Weeknd fan. I do like some of his songs, but I felt like the NFL definitely went in a better direction. That you think of last year's performance, I wasn't really a big fan of it. Now I understand they wanted to spice it up, diversify, and different things like that. But The Weeknd can come out and surprise us. He has some good songs. He has a solid fan base, so there's a possibility that he may actually produce pretty well. I don't know, but I definitely think they could have went in a better direction with
Avery's holding it in, thinking like The Weeknd was.
Go ahead, Avery.
Who would you have put in? And keep it quick, man.
I'm gonna keep it quick. 2 things. First of all, you weren't a fan of last year's J-Lo.
I didn't really.
I don't care what you.
I didn't really like last year.
They bodied.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I just wasn't. I wasn't like, oh wow,
All right. And Avery, who would you have replaced to extend?
I honestly, I'm not mad at The Weeknd. It's just I probably wouldn't have picked an R&B artist, maybe a lower ranking like rap or rock artist, only because again, R&B in the Super Bowl does not get me ready for football. But at the same time, it's COVID, so it's not going to be too many fans. Maybe they've got something bigger for when we get fans back.
They have the Bruno Mars R&B singer that made it.
That's what I was gonna say.
He still had a pretty good performance. It's not a top Super Bowl performance, but look, guys,
Bruno is not R&B.
This is not a musical choice podcast. This is the Air It Out podcast.
The baby, a little baby.
Wait, he has pop songs. He has pop songs he can sing.
the baby or little baby.
No,
you can't do that. No, the NFL ain't ready for that, Darren.
No more music talk. No more music talk. We're getting into the football talk, gentlemen, and we're getting into by starting with the fact that the NFL owners have approved a proposal that would add 2 playoff teams to the playoff structure should any meaningful games be canceled due to COVID-19. Now, right now, the current playoff structure is 7 teams per conference, 14 teams right now. If the worst case scenario were to happen, which the owners have approved, it would be 16 teams total. That's half the league in the playoffs right now. Let me read you what the playoff picture would look like should this mandate had to take place. Steelers will be the first seed still. Chiefs, Bills, Titans for 2 through 4. The Ravens, the Raiders, and the Dolphins would have the wild card spots, along with the last AFC wild card spot going to the Browns because they would break their win tie break over Indianapolis is based on head-to-head win percentage. Cleveland has a higher winning percentage in that end than Indianapolis does. In the NFC, the Saints are the number 1 seed, followed by the Seahawks, the Packers, the Eagles, the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, who win a tiebreaker over Los Angeles Rams based on best winning percentage in division games. Then the Rams have the 7th seed with the Bears, the Chicago Bears, sneaking in with the 8th seed should it be there. So I'm just going to go around the horn here to ask for opinions on it. I'm going to start off with Avery on that.
First thing, I don't feel like if the Eagles do not get more than 7 wins, I'm sorry. I feel like that has to be changed. Like, I get it if they win the division with 7 games, but 7 games and you're a playoff team? Come on, yo. Like, we want to see in the playoffs the teams who are good play against each other. Like, that's what I want to see. I'm not saying that the Eagles are bad. I want to see a team with a record that has shown we were good throughout the year. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm honestly not a fan of it. Obviously, that means more football, but to me, it's just like, again, when it comes to the playoffs, we're talking about, to me, the upper echelon of the teams that year, right? So you're talking about a team, like I said, that could potentially already a division winner could be a 4 seed at 7 wins. I mean, and then you're talking about a wild card team could have 10 wins. That is sick to me. I don't like it. I feel like they should just keep it for what it is. The games get canceled. It is what it is. We knew what it was going into the season. This is the COVID season. Like, we've already expanded the playoffs to 7 teams. This to me is just, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. I mean, but if you're going to do it, Falcons, come on, let's go. Because don't nobody want to see the Falcons in the playoffs. So, you know what I mean?
Darren, based on the proposed schedule, should the worst case scenario happen, you will have 3 AFC North teams in the playoffs. Steelers with the number 1 seed. If the playoffs were to end today, that's what I'm saying. The Steelers with the number 1 seed, the Ravens at 5, and the Browns at 8. Do you feel like this is a fair system, or is it something that is just and be as unbiased as you can as a Ravens fan? Please try.
I'm gonna take the Ravens part out of it in the whole equation, but I do want to give a shout out because if you think about it, that's 3 teams from the AFC North. AFC North is still one of the best divisions in the entire league. Point blank, period. Just saying. But I don't like the system. I really wasn't a fan of the 7. I understood the 7 games playoffs, but 8. You're just letting everyone in now. It's not that it will dilute the competitiveness of what the playoffs truly mean. When you talk about the playoffs, you're talking about the guy that truly grinded for this. They grinded those wins out. They earned those wins. They earned their spots. If you're just giving those spots away now, will people start to lax off because they know, hey, we might get this 8 spot if we just win 1 or 2 more games here and there. That's what you have to think about because it doesn't just only affect the playoffs, but it affects the regular season.
Darius, when the Patriots were to the playoffs last year, they lost their chance at a bye because of the Miami Dolphins upsetting them in Week 17. That's just a statement I want to make to help you relive the pain. But aside from that, We all know how important it is to get a bye in the playoffs. All right. With the current playoff structure being as it is, it's one team to get the bye. The other 6 fight it out in the wildcard spot. If this is what to go out for what it is, it would be 2 teams with a bye and 6 others fight for a playoff spot. As a guy who had a team get ducked out because of an early round exit without a bye, is it still a fair competition?
I mean, you got to look at teams who get bye weeks and still, when they come off that bye week, they lose. Not to rub this in Aaron's face, but the Baltimore Ravens, they had a bye week. They had the number 1 seed. Everyone thought, okay, 14-2, coming off the bye week, you're getting your players healthy. You have a week to game plan. You know what Tennessee's bringing, and you still lose. So bye weeks to me are 50-50 depending on the team. Certain teams know how to use those bye weeks. Not saying the Ravens don't, but just in that case, they didn't. It's times when the New England Patriots had a bye week when they had the best record in the NFL, and guess what? Against your Jets, the Jets came into Foxborough and beat us. So I think with the bye weeks, it's 50-50. But Avery, I want to point back to something that Avery said. I agree. Being a team that has 7 wins, Seattle did this a few years back when they had 7 wins, and then New Orleans had to come in. Obviously, the Saints had a better record. You know, I don't think it's fair that a team who maybe had
Marshawn.
Marshawn in that game, a team has 7 wins, 6 wins potentially, and they get a home game. It shouldn't be like that, especially if a team works really hard to get that final wild card spot. But as far as the playoff structure, man, it's all about the money, right? Like, that's how the NFL is looking at this. They're like, how can we get more money if we cancel these games because of COVID-19? So let's add an extra team to each conference. Let's add extra 2 teams in the playoffs. I personally think if they do that, it's still a chance it can be still a little bit competitive. But you know, we're just gonna have to see if game gets canceled, what's gonna happen. But it's at the end of the day, it's all about the money, guys. That's what it's about with NFL.
Fun fact: the last 2 teams to make it to the playoffs with losing records were the first one being the 2010 Seattle Seahawks with a 7-9 record, upsetting the New Orleans Saints, and the second team being the 7-8-1 2013 Carolina Panthers. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah, it was a 7-8-1 record, Carolina Panthers back in 2013, which
really?
Yeah, exactly. Which pushes me to our second topic of the day, which is the Panthers having to decide what to do with their star running back Christian McCaffrey. All right, so McCaffrey was regarded as one of the top playmakers in the NFL, number 1 in fantasy drafts across the board, and just a dual threat everywhere that you look. So far, McCaffrey has missed 6 games this year due to injury. He suffered a high ankle sprain in week 2 against in week 2, missed 6 games, came back to play against the Chiefs in week 9, and suffered a pretty bad shoulder injury against the Chiefs and is out for this week's game. And you know, guys, I went the extra mile and did a little bit of math with regards to the Panthers' offensive abilities with Christian McCaffrey and without him. So in the 3 games that they lost McCaffrey, they're 0-3. They averaged 400 total yards of offense per game, 106 rushing, 310 passing, and scored 26 points per game. In the 6 games without McCaffrey, they're 3-3. They averaged 345 total yards per game, so 55 less, 105 rushing yards per game, 1.7 yards less, 234 passing yards per game, 76 yards less, and 22 points per game, 4 points less. It might be big. So the numbers tell me 2 things. 1, Christian McCaffrey is a major component of this passing attack, and 2, they are a better team with run CMC out there than without. So Avery, I want to throw it over to you first. Do the Panthers shut down Christian McCaffrey for the rest of the year?
Should they or will they?
Either or.
I would say that they're not going to, and I would say that they should not do it. And the reason being is, one, again, when he's on the field, he changes the game. He's a game changer. He's not. So there's a handful of running backs in the league that you can say that their game. They literally changed the way the game, the way the defense approaches everything, and they can make or break a game. Honestly, you've got guys like Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. Then you've got running backs who are like, they're really good, but they don't change the game. Like Todd Gurley, he's really good. He leads the league in rushing touchdowns right now. He's really good, but he doesn't change the game.
Joe Mixon,
really good, but doesn't change the game. And so for me, I feel like with Christian McCaffrey on the team and playing on the field, you have a chance to make the playoffs, especially if they decide to extend it to 8 teams. So and you're not playing bad. I mean, you've shown that you can go toe to toe with some of the better teams. You just kind of have to finish. I mean, I feel like they should continue to make sure that Christian is on the field if he's healthy, if he's indeed healthy. Now, my thing is he should definitely have a little bit less of the load. But at the same time, exactly. But at the same time, I think you always put him out there if he's 100%. If he's 100%, and now if he's not, then that's when you can say, okay, let's shut him down. But if he's 100%, you bring that guy on the field, you give yourself a chance to make the playoffs, and you don't know what happens in the playoffs because again, a team like the Panthers can slow the game down running the ball with Christian McCaffrey, throwing those screens and those wheel routes and different things like that. And Teddy doesn't turn the ball over, so you're going to have to beat the Panthers because they're not going to beat themselves.
There is. Christian McCaffrey signed a huge contract over the offseason, making him the highest paid running back in the NFL as a result. And, he earned every dime of that paycheck with the 1,000 year he had last year. With the injuries starting to pile up this year, is there already a little bit of buyer's remorse on part of the Panthers?
No. I think the Panthers did the right thing. You got a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously, arguably, when on the field, the best running back in the game, right? He's a dual threat. He can run the ball and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I don't think that the Panthers should regret signing, giving this guy a contract extension such as that amount. But I personally just feel like if the Panthers don't beat Tampa Bay, right, they're already in a hole where they have to win every game now. Every game is a must-win game for them. Just because you look at the NFC South, it's the Saints and then it's Tampa Bay, who are probably going to go, 1 for 2 for who's going to win the division. So, in my opinion, if the Panthers don't win, I think Christian McCaffrey gets shut down because what are you playing for at this point? Like we don't know that the season if games are going to get canceled, so we can't really say they still have a chance. If you don't beat Tampa Bay, you shut them down. You let them really get healthy. You give them all that time off, and then next season, obviously, you have a full season, a full off season. You're gonna have training camp. You're probably gonna have preseason games. So now he comes back next season ready to work, and he has a chip on his shoulder because he's like, I missed a lot of games. People are probably gonna be talking about, just like you said, Juan, I missed 6 games. I missed this amount of games, and I signed this big contract extension. People are gonna talk about me. Now I really gotta go out there next season and prove myself after a full year under Matt Rule, after a full year of, having Teddy Bridgewater. That's just if they lose. Now, if they win, it's a whole different story. Now you like, okay, he missed a game where Tampa Bay's defense is solid against the run, so they're not going to be able to really run the ball. And I feel like they have personnel that can kind of match up with Christian McCaffrey. So if they win that game, you let him come back next week. And there is already talks that he's expected to play next week. So I really think it's a situation where if they win, they still have a chance to win, to make it to the playoffs, right? They still have a chance. They lose, I think, in my opinion, you shut them down, you let them rest. You still have Mike Davis, he's not a game-changing running back, but he's still going to get you, he still can get you some he can move the chains on a run. So that's how I feel about that situation.
We can't do exactly Christian McCaffrey things because Christian McCaffrey is the only one that can do Christian McCaffrey things, but that's neither here nor there. Avery, real quick, what would you want to add?
I just want to point out that this season, as far as the Christian McCaffrey injuries, the reason I say, potentially not shutting down is because they're not catastrophic injuries. It's a high ankle sprain in a shoulder. So, I mean, as a running back, you're kind of looking at a season and saying, if those are my only injuries this year, I did pretty well.
But you don't want to risk for the injury if you're not gonna make the play. Like we're not being Tampa Bay, why put him out there and risk further injury when you're star running back? Like, this is your franchise guy. You don't want to get him hurt, and then now his process for him to come back next season is prolonged. So it's like, that's what I said. They beat Tampa Bay. Now you like, okay, now you play because now we have a legitimate shot. We beat a divisional rival.
Guys, look, Christian McCaffrey is potent in both the passing and the running game, much like Lamar Jackson, which makes me throw it over to Darren in that respect. Because look, just like Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey is capable of killing the defense in both aspects of the game with his receiving skills and his rushing attacks. Similar with Lamar Jackson with his rushing attacks and his passing attack. But durability is a major part of being that kind of a playmaker. So, in your opinion, for Christian McCaffrey especially, do you feel like this might be a cause for concern given that running back is such a high toll position?
I don't feel as though for Christian it should be an issue. And I only say this because in college he had the injury. And then when he came into the league, he had a few minor injuries to start off his career. But since basically his middle of the sophomore year up until now, he has been one of the most healthy backs. He is on the field for almost 90%, 99% last season. That takes a toll, but for him, he knows how to take care of his body, and it doesn't show that it's really wearing on him. These injuries are soft tissue injuries, things that happen no matter what you're going to do. When you have a high ankle sprain, it happens. It's not like you can really truly defend against it. So I don't think it will really hurt him, but I do think they need to lessen the load on him because you cannot have your star player out there for 99% of the things if he's getting hit the way running backs do.
If McCaffrey should become someone that has to lose touches due to injury, that might have to call into question whether or not he deserves the amount of money he's being paid if he's going to start going into rotation.
No, you can't. You can't do that because of the simple fact what Christian McCaffrey offers, no real other running back other than, like Avery said, a very select few can offer that to you. You have to pay that man what he is owed, what he still has to offer. You're not going to find a running back really right now that's going to be able to do 1,000 and 1,000 like he did.
5 less touches per game, 5 to 7 less touches per game can preserve him. That's all we're not even saying like let's cut it down to 10, 12 touches less. Just 5 to 7 touches less per game can help.
It's quality,
and that's why they have Mike Davis. That's why they have Mike Davis, a guy who can come in and run between the tackles on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. That way, Christian McCaffrey is not on the field 99.9% of the time. You get him off the field, you let him rest, you put Mike Davis in. That's why. But what are you gonna do?
Guys, I am in agreement with you that McCaffrey got every cent he's worth because of the unique talent that he is. But the NFL is a business, and the Carolina Panthers are a franchise. And when your star franchise player is starting to take hits and tolls that just don't warrant the money, it might not right now, but further down the line, they might want to have to relook at that contract pretty soon, especially with what happened with Todd Gurley. Do you really want a Christian McCaffrey situation turning into a Todd Gurley situation? And with that being said, I'm moving into our last topic of the day, which is our Week 10 game picks and hot takes. You guys, man. There's only 7 weeks left of football left, if we even get it that far. And it's just been such an awesome season so far. People just balling, people just falling. It's been awesome. And you know what? I'm going to give it over to Darren first for his Week 10 pick and hot take. So go ahead, Darren. And if it's a Ravens pick, just remember 350.
So he's going to keep reminding me of my 350, but it's okay because I don't need to say 350 for the New England Patriots. He can do under 200. He can do under 150 and beat them. It is what it is for that. But my actually game of the week would be the one for tonight. I am really looking forward to that one. The Titans and the Colts, that's 2 teams that is playing very well. They know how to play both offensively and defensively to their strengths. And if Jonathan Taylor can bounce back, it can be a very good battle between 2 real good running backs. Derrick Henry, who's already established, and Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the up-and-coming guys. So that's definitely a good matchup to see. For my hot take, though, I really want to see these running backs go well. So, hear me out, people. We're going to do 350, but 350 combined between the 2 running backs.
350 rushing yards between both Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry? Jonathan
You
Taylor
not know the Colts.
might have like 40 rushing yards for the night, while Derrick Henry comes out with the 310. That's how it might go. But
Do you not know the Colts defense is legit this year against the run?
Guys, wait. Before we do it, I just want to say real quick that I'll just say it now. I'm picking the Colts to win tonight. And yes, it is a Quentin Nelson jersey that I'm wearing. I love me some lineman action right there. So I'm going with that. But yeah, so Darren, continue.
Listen, I'm just thinking about it like this. The guys are going to try to pass early and often. And not one of those teams, I feel like, are going to be able to do it early and often. They're going to play similar styles. So after the pass is not working for both of them, they're going to start to try to grind it out. And after a while, they're going to break. The Colts, they broke a little bit for us. It may not have been our running back, but Lamar got away. And the way that Derrick Henry can break away is almost like Lamar, but a bigger, stronger, faster guy. So I'm seeing at least 350 for both teams. And I just like Jonathan Taylor, man. I'm hoping good things for the rookie, man.
You better hope that because I have him on my fantasy team. But that being said, Darius, I'm giving you the next hot take. Go.
Did you just say that Derrick Henry is faster than Lamar?
Listen here. If you take Derrick Henry, who is 6'4", 240, 250, he's running a 4.4. Lamar probably 4.3. If you put that same weight on Lamar, he's not running that fast.
Darius, quickly take it before Darren goes off. Come on.
350? 350. We're doing 350 again. I'm hitting the 350. I'm hitting the 350.
All right. We drug testing you from before every episode. Nah, but it's a couple of games that I'm looking forward to this week. I think an underrated game that's gonna be a good game is the Bills and Cardinals, right? Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen. There's been a lot of talk about Josh Allen. Is he still an MVP candidate? We know what he did the first couple of weeks where he was putting up those huge numbers. Last couple of weeks, he struggled. This past week, he actually played really well. Shout out to Josh Allen. But Kyler Murray obviously looks like an MVP candidate. I think that's gonna be a shootout. I definitely think in the beginning it's gonna be a little slow, but I think as halftime comes, both teams they're gonna adjust, and you're gonna see like Kyler Murray and Josh Allen go tick for tack. Another game that I'm really looking at too is the Seattle Seahawks and the Rams. I love that rivalry. I think Russ is gonna go off. I think Russ having that game against Buffalo where he really struggled. I think he comes back and he throws for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and DK Metcalf has over 200 yards receiving against that somewhat suspect Rams defense. That's my hot take. That's what I'm saying.
20 or 120?
He's what happened?
20 or 120?
He's gonna have 200 receiving yards. DK Metcalf.
You know, Jalen still plays for them, right?
Yep. No.
I know, but Jalen Ramsey not going. Listen, they got Tyler Lockett. He gonna have to either do Tyler Lockett or DK. Listen, man, 200 yards. That's
you talking about me. We're giving him the drug test.
This is because I missed.
We're giving him the drug test.
Hold on. First off, I just want to say real quick. I'm gonna say, Chris, I'm coming for you. All right. I just got Aaron Rodgers on my fantasy team. I'm beating you by 40 this week, bro. All right. Now, Avery. Woo! Avery. You gotta breathe now, man. Give me your hot take and your game of the week.
Oh my God. All right. A plethora of phenomenal games this week, starting with tonight, Colts and Titans. That's going to be phenomenal. I low-key feel like Texans-Browns is going to be a really good game. People are sleeping on that game. Bucks and Panthers, that's going to be phenomenal. My warm take from that game is that the Panthers win. Raiders-Broncos is going to be a really good game. Chargers-Dolphins. That's
the game of the week. That's the game of the week.
That's my game. Let me get that. That's my game of the week. That's my game
right there.
All I'm saying is there's some really, really good games this week. I mean, Darius pointed out the 49ers and Saints, Seahawks, Rams, Ravens, Patriots. I mean, all right. So for me, though, it's a game that people are probably counting out. And I'm not sure why. But I'm going to go Eagles-Giants. I feel like that's going to be a really, really good game. I feel like that's going to be a battle down to the end. As we saw, the Giants took the Bucks to the brink of that game, and then I believe they got their first win the next week. Or the second win the next week. The Giants are looking like they're trending in the right direction, as are the Eagles, and both teams are in the running for the division right now. It could really swing the momentum. So I'm really looking forward to that game. My hot take, though, is that the Patriots beat Ravens, and it's not because Darren is on the podcast. It's honestly because of what I saw last week from the Patriots. I just feel like they're starting to figure things out a little bit, right? And if they can continue to build on what they did last week, with Jacoby Myers playing out of his freaking mind, Cam Newton actually trusting his receivers, Josh McDaniels not trying to do too much, and just I feel like that I just feel like the Patriots are going to pull this one out. I'm not sure, but it's just like it's a small gut feeling that the Patriots end up pulling this game out.
I'm just going to put an asterisk on that because that was against a 32nd ranked Jets defense, but we'll leave it at that.
A win is a win. It builds momentum. You get momentum from the win.
Whatever, Patriots.
You get momentum from the win.
I'm gonna give it on my game of the week and my hot take. So I already called it. I literally screamed it because I put so much work into research. But yes, I'm going with the Miami Dolphins hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Because guys, this is the most exciting QB battle we're gonna experience since I can't remember when. All right, and like it is just like. I don't even know how to break this down. It's just so exciting because the main battle here is Tua Tagovailoa, who is rated as probably the top quarterback in this draft before he went down with the injury, and Justin Herbert, the guy that no one thought was going to amount to much, even though he was drafted in the first round by the Chargers. And so far, the tables have turned, and both of these QBs have been phenomenal, with Herbert jumping into the forefront of the Rookie of the Year race right now. And I just want to give first credit to Brian Flores for building the culture of the Miami Dolphins in the way that he has, trading away big contract players like Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills for draft picks. Even though he did it with the Houston Texans, he fleeced the Texans for what he got from them. He got good players. Price. He's got Tua Tagovailoa being Tua Tagovailoa, the guy that upset Georgia in the national championship, and don't sleep on this Miami Dolphins defense. They are one of the top 5 scoring defenses in the NFL, +5 in turnover differential, and they returned 2 fumbles for touchdowns on back-to-back weeks against some pretty good offenses. The Los Angeles Rams with Jared Goff fumbling, and the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray fumbling, both NFC West teams. Now, they are a little injury broken right now. Preston Williams and Matt Breida are dealing with injuries. Van Noy and Wilkins having COVID. But overall, this is a team that no one saw coming. They were like, it was like everyone thought Miami was playing for 2021. They're playing for 2020, and it is showing. On the Chargers side of things, Anthony Lynn is playing for his job. You guys, he is playing for his job because the close losses are heartbreaking and detrimental to morale for both fans and coaching staff and players alike. In games where the Chargers have won or lost by 7 or less points since 2017, since Lynn took this job, they are 12-20. That is horrid. You are losing more games than you're winning when it comes down to the wire. Like, Herbert has been a godsend as a player. He is 11th in the league in passing yards. He has a 17-5 touchdown to interception ratio. Keenan Allen is hitting top peak. Mike Williams is a good big body receiver down in the deep threat, and rookie wide receiver Jalen Guyton, who has 3 catches of 40 or plus yards, has been a slot receiver that not a lot of people saw coming in terms of speed and quickness. And the only question and the only thing I can say that is going to hurt this defense a lot is the fact that that their defense is constantly hurt. Joey Bosa, even though he's been dealing with a whole bunch of injuries, is still first in the team with 4.5 sacks. They're a middle of the pack defense, but they just traded away their best slot DB to the Titans, which just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I get that the rumors was that Desmond King was a locker room cancer. Nevertheless, that is a talent that you cannot deny. And special teams has been absolutely horrible for the Chargers. The money badger, Mike Badgerly, he is 14 of 19 in field goals, which is kind of like, the numbers don't tell the whole story. This guy is 7 of 12 from kicks of 40-plus yards. You call yourself the money badger. You even trademarked the nickname, and you can't even make a field goal of more than
trash.
That is trash. And you know what? With that being said, I'm going to give my hot take right now. The first hot take I'm going to get is that between Herbert and Tua, they're going to throw, I'm going to say, both over 300 yards. It's going to be a shootout between them because they have good weapons among them. And Tua, he competed with Kyler Murray last week, and he threw for 300 yards. And Justin Herbert has been topping 300 yards quite a bit this year. I call that both are going to throw 300 yards, and I'm going to give the win to the Dolphins by a field goal.
I disagree only because you just talked about the pass defense for the Dolphins. I kept trying to tell people Byron Jones going down there was going to change the way teams had to approach throwing the ball on those dudes, and I was right. I kept trying to tell people that he's a dog. Nobody listening. I'm trying to tell you he's a dog. He's changed that defensive secondary. Could I see it being a back and forth game? Yeah, but the way those dudes are playing on that back end, I don't see it being an extreme shootout. And I love Justin Herbert, but I'm just with some vet corners. I don't know.
Vet corners are what kind of define both these defenses. The Chargers have Casey Hayward. The Dolphins have Byron Jones and Xavier Jones.
I think this is the game that Justin Herbert shows that he's gonna struggle a little bit. He's gonna struggle a little bit just because that Dolphins defense is they're good. They're good, and they got some boys out there that can play. So I definitely think Justin Herbert. He's not gonna struggle, but he's gonna look at lost at times against that Miami defense. So
I can see him going over 3. I can see him still going over 3. He knows how to get out of pressure, and when he throws against the blitz, he's one of the best in the league this year. That's one of the most underrated things about Justin Herbert I've seen so far, and you gotta give him that. So if you could throw under pressure, and not only throw under pressure, but throw touchdowns under pressure. Last time I checked, he was 6-1 touchdown interception against the pressure.
Here's a hot take. Justin Herbert has over 300 total yards of offense.
So he'll be rushing too? Yeah, I get that. He does have 2 rushing touchdowns on the year, so he is a mobile quarterback. But
that's a little bit better. That's a little bit fair.
Like I said earlier, Justin Herbert has defied expectations as a rookie quarterback. A lot of people thought he couldn't really make good decisions when faced with pressure or when having even open field. He had that issue up in Oregon. Now he looks like he could be maybe a second-team All-Pro quarterback in the NFL as a rookie, potentially, down the line as it goes. That's another hot take I'm going to slip in there. Yeah, Darius?
I heard somebody say Justin Herbert is going to be the second best quarterback in the league behind, obviously, Patrick Mahomes in a couple of years. That was a very hot take. Someone said. Someone said Justin Herbert in a few years is going to be the second best quarterback.
Who says
it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Okay, guys, we have some breaking news.
And I was just like,
guys, we have breaking news right now. Jerome has dropped the ITH fantasy rankings.
He dropped the rankings.
And for everyone, let's say where everyone ranks right now. Let's Darren, you are at number 8. With the quote saying you got knocked back down to earth a bit, right on the outside bubble of the playoffs. Your team needs to get back on the stream to have a good chance to make it in.
That's cool.
We got Avery moving up 1 spot at number 4. He's back in the winner's circle, and I think you will have Mixon back soon. That will help. And with Julio and Deshaun Watson playing well again, this team should be a solid playoff team. Then you got falling 1 spot. I'm still top 3, and it says I've been slipping lately, but nobody can stay perfect. Still a really good team and one of the best in this league. We'll need to stay on top to get a week 1 playoff bye. And coming in at number 1 is the Cam for MVP guy himself.
Listen, fantasy GM of the year, man.
Someone is
Fantasy
being
GM of the year,
comfortable at
man.
number one, and it is separating himself from the rest of the pack. Craziest part is he's getting Miles Sanders back. Scary.
Ooh, yeah, man. Miles and Dalvin this week. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I only need one
Listen.
trade to make my run. That's all.
All
I
So,
need one
saying
trade to
is-
make my run.
All I'm saying is I'm
You need
right
a bench
where-
Lamar Jackson.
I'm right where I need to be at the 4 spot. You know what I'm saying? I'm a hover around there for a little bit, get the 2-3 seed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even trying to get the number 1 seed because I don't want y'all to be sitting there like that. I just want y'all to know that wherever I'm at the end, I shall be crowned.
and you know what's funny? The guy that I'm facing this
That's
week
not
is also
Biden.
number 2, Mr. Chris Thomas, who said he's going to beat my brakes off with 20 points this week. Yeah, we'll see about that, Chris. I just got Aaron Rodgers in a trade,
You
and I'm
beat
putting a
him,
bench Matt Stafford. So bring it on. Oh, and I have DK Metcalf. I got T. Higgins. I already gave you the shout out, Chris. You don't need to rub it in
DK
already.
for 200.
And you know, DK for 200, I'm holding you to that, Darius. And if you don't, you are trading me someone because I will freaking deck you if that's not going to happen. And with that being
I'll
said,
give you Steelers defense.
I'll
I'll
take
give you the
and
Steelers
with that,
defense.
and guys, with that being said, that's where we're going to end today's Air It Out podcast. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. You guys remember, for a lot of these podcasts, whether it's our RPO podcast, the Fantasy Aces podcast, Air It Out even, or even our player interviews, you can always listen to us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Anchor, even on YouTube for the live streams. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, Inside the Hashes is there. You can also check us out on our social media. On Facebook, we are Inside the Hashes. On Twitter, we are at Inside Hashes. And on Instagram, we are at Inside the Hashes. And also, do me a favor, come on, join us on our Discord, guys. We want to hear from you. We want to argue with you, whether it is high school football, college football, Canadian football, arena football, soccer. Not really, but it's still technically football, or the NFL. We want to hear from you. Argue with us. Challenge us, and we will challenge you and argue you in however way that we can. For Darius Riddick, for Avery Collins, for Darren Braxton, Chris Thomas, I am coming for you. My name is Juan Pablo Gordon Camargo. This is the Air It Out podcast presented by Inside the Hashes. We'll see you next time.